I am your tribal chief. I am the head of the table. I am your people's champion. I am the host of Kick It Scoops. I am Kick It Scoops, and there's something you all better do, and that is absolutely acknowledge me. I am the one. I am your podcast to watch. There is no other podcast you guys are going to watch than Kick It Scoops, and trust me when I say this, if there's a podcast that you are not watching and it's not Kick It Scoops, then I don't know. I am the one. I am the one. I am the head of the table. I am the king of kings. I am the podcast you all must watch. Forget Bev. Forget Bernie. Forget all these other podcasts out there. Forget the big dogs, if you will pardon the pun. There is one podcast to watch, and it's me, your tribal chief, your head of the table. I am one, and you will acknowledge me. I am the one. I am the tribal chief. I am the head of the table. And you will all, and I mean you all, will acknowledge me. I am the one podcast you guys must watch. It's Kick It Scoop every single week. There is no other podcast you shall watch other than Kick It Scoop. You hear the sirens going off for a reason, but there is only one podcast you shall watch. It is Kick It to Scoop. Let's go watch the best podcast now. I may not watch it, but you will. And you will, and if you don't, it's something you will do, and that is acknowledge me, the one. There is one podcast you need to watch, and I guarantee you, it is nothing else. It is Kick It to... What? Don't you talk shit about me, huh? You know what? Fuck you, huh? Fuck this guy, eh? Fuck. That's what you get when you mess with the tribal chief. I am the head of the table. You don't mess with me. Cameraman, come here, cameraman. Come and see this guy, huh? Come here, cameraman. Come on, chop chop. We've got no time to lose. You see this guy? If you like him, here, up here, cameraman, up here. That's right. See that dickhead? You don't mess with me. You don't watch something else. When you watch something else, that will be you. There is one podcast you need to watch, and it is Kick It to Scoops. Otherwise, you're going to be like him, and you're going to get your ass on the ground, no matter who you are. Kick It to Scoops every week. The only damn podcast you shall be watching. Kick It to Scoops. And, of course, acknowledge me, the one. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 50th episode of Kick It to Scoops. Did I say that correctly? The 50th episode of Kick It to Scoops. I'm your host, Cooper Gretsch, the sole admin of AFL information, trade rumours and results. Why am I moving my hands around? Because I can. And look where we are. We're here, outdoors again, but we're here for a very important reason. As I just said, I may have said it a few times already, but I'm going to say it again. It is terrible conditions, but I do not let you guys down. It is the 50th episode of Kick It to Scoops, and we've got a lot of topics to discuss today. We've got the world famous segment Scoop Shows Bang, and I've got a few very important topics to bang on about. In fact, we're going to recap also some of the best moments of Kick It to Scoops in history, from episode 1 to episode now 50. I'm going to go through my top 5 interviews and who they are. You'll find out soon on the show. You'll also find out my top 3 AFL goal reenactments. And I know you love my goal reenactments, guys and girls, and you're going to see it. My top 3 on the show today, today, whatever time zone you're in. And also got my best Scoops Goes Bang segment. And of course my Supercoach talk, team in the week, my rolling Australian, and review the rounds just gone and upcoming. Let's get started into it with the best podcast, Kick It to Scoops. Now, let's now start off. Or before I do that, actually, you want to know how I just appeared from the beach all the way back to here? How did that happen? Well, only I know how that happened. Anyway, now, before we start off with that world-famous segment in the special 50th episode of Kick It to Scoops, you want me on Cameo, head to cameo.com/CooperG. You want me to roast a friend or wish someone a happy birthday, congratulate them on something, a pep talk, whatever you want, send it through to cameo.com/CooperG. And merch, there's t-shirts, there's stickers, there's stubby holders, there's hats. Yes, that's it. Now, I've probably almost said too many things that I no longer have, but hats, stickers, not many of those 2 items remaining. 6 t-shirt designs and a new one, which will be dropped tonight or in the next few days, hopefully. Now, let's start off with that world-famous segment. Scoops goes bang! Whoa, wow. 50th episode, Scoops, you got to think of a good thing to bang on about. And oh, don't you worry, I have. This guy has featured on the show. I've got 2 things in particular to go through. This guy has been a regular feature, or his club has at least, of on Scoops Goes Bang, and that is Richmond, Damien Hardwick. Now, obviously, they had a draw against the Doggers on Friday night at Marvel, the ground they love so much, don't you, Dimmer? But it was more brought up upon to him about extra time. And Damien Hardwick is basically saying that there should no longer be draws, and there shall be extra time. Now, granted, he was asked a question, but is he really giving that answer that he just wants, doesn't want a draw? He wants to play until last score wins? Well, Dimmer, had you not been in that scenario, though, would that have been your answer? I don't think it would have. But I'm not surprised you said that in your presser. It was the other way around of having to a different team. Your choice may have been something completely different to what you just said, because that simply, I don't feel, is what your answer would have been had it been happening against 2 different sides, not involving your own. So, Dimmer, come on, mate, lift your game. Now, the next one, Joey Montagna headlined this act on First Crack last night on Fox Footy about the countdown clock. He wants people at the ground to know. He's saying people on their phones know and everything, how long's left. Everyone knows bar the players. He's saying on the big screen, instead of counting up to 30-plus minute mark, that it should be just saying how many seconds are left, and like what the TV would show. Joey, he says the traditionalists will come for him, and fair enough that they have Joey. And he's not the only one that thinks this, but he's the most recent example. I don't agree with that either, Joey. Come on, Joey. It's not good enough. We want the suspense, Joey. I know you can say that people look at their phones, but there's some people that may be capable of looking at their phones and looking to realise how long was left in the game. But we don't want to know. That's what builds the excitement. You're saying that excitement can still be built the other way. It can, not doubting that. But I don't agree with Joey. Come on, you're better than that. And like, for example, that Jamie Elliott goal, which we'll get to some point during the show today. A goal, would you rather than know how long was left? For all we know, Jamie Elliott might have looked at the clock, 28 seconds to go, and might have thought, damn it, I'm not going to have a shot here. It's not enough time. I know he got it in the end, but he may have had different thoughts in his mind, and he may have played on and may have got smothered, and Essendon may have won. But, Joey, that's what we like about him. The excitement. You just see the fans, especially the ones in Jamie Elliott on the boundary, their footage was awesome, and that potential moment, Joey, may not have happened had we done what you've requested they should do. So, Joey, come on, lift your game. Now, hope you guys enjoy that. Probably a different edition of Scoops Goes Bang, but come on, Dimmer, lift your game. And Joey. Now, hope you guys enjoy that edition of Scoops Goes Bang. Now, I've got a very, very special highlights package. Hope you guys can sit back and relax. Now, it is the 50th episode, as I said, and I'll be saying that 100,000 times during this episode of Kick It to Scoops, episode number 50. I've got a highlights package, but now these are some type of things that you guys have loved throughout the whole time of Kick It to Scoops. You love goal reenactments. You love when I get angry on someone or somebody or a group of people. And you like when I do interviews. So, I've culminated all 3 together and have said some of the best Scoops Goes Bangs, my top 5 interviews
one by one in order, and in order also my top 3 goal reenactments that I've created. Leave your thoughts down below what you think my best Scoop Goes Bang goal reenactments and top 5 interviews will be. Send them off in the comment section below. You'll see them all in order in this next clip. When I come back, I'll give you the reasons for those decisions. Enjoy and leave your thoughts down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already.
Hey guys, it's not working.
Funny that, eh?
Now, let's start off with that world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang! This one. Speaking of very famous, let's start off with the world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang! Let's move on to that world famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang! Segment, Scoops Goes Bang!
He's got it at half-back. One-on-one's Franklin. He goes in that direction. Hooker went up. Could have given away a free kick. And he has Franklin plays on. Takes a bounce. He's getting away from Hooker. Kick one here in the same situation. Oh, no. Second bounce. No. Runs to 45. Third bounce. Runs to 30 on the boundary line.
No!
That is unbelievable!
Goal of the year!
He has kicked number 5, and that is as good as anything I have ever seen.
I've never seen anything like it, dude.
In extra time to send the West Coast Eagles on in season 2017. He's kicked a goal. The Eagles have won. Get Eddie Harbrow. Eddie.
Oh, yes!
Yes! You're a magician!
Kick at the Scoops. Well, did you see that? My reenactment of the Eddie Betts. Eddie Betts.
Isn't he? I mean, he's the definition of a journeyman, and he'd hate that. But it's amazing, Cooper, what you can do when someone gives you an opportunity. And he has taken this with both hands, and he's made such a difference because of us growing up. So I'm glad I got here eventually.
You mentioned, we haven't mentioned yet, but you're obviously Sydney Swan supporter. How'd that come about?
Yeah, well, I've got 2 versions of this story, Cooper. So the short version, when I can't be bothered telling people, is that I grew up in Middle Park, which I did, which is pretty much next to South Melbourne, and that, you know, I'm an old South Melbourne supporter. But actually my grandfather Alan played 50 games for St Kilda, Alan Ollie. So my dad's a Saint, and I really should go for the Saints, but I mean, I don't remember this conversation. Well, they're my second team, and they're my AFLW team, so the Swans don't have one yet. But Dad said that when I was younger, like I must have been very, very young, I asked who I should support. And Dad was just so miffed by St Kilda, and he said, they'll give you a lifetime of misery. Don't go for them, but do go for Plugger Luckett because he won't let you down. And then Plugger got up and moved to the Swans when I was about 3 or 4, I think. So for as long as I can remember, I've gone for the Swans, and it's all because of Plugger Luckett.
It's a big, obviously, very big game next week.
Drafted, you said 2015, I believe. It's 2013, so a couple of years off.
Oh, damn it, Bond. Chicken, you wonder why I don't rate him.
You don't rate him?
Oh, man, as some do, Bev. But he's obviously a great player. But so we both got 2 out of 3, but I had to beat 26 seconds. Now, my producer tells me that I had 28 seconds. So unless he's been cheating because he's a fan of yours, Bev, to let you win, you're the quiz master by 2 seconds.
Right. I reckon my questions were a little easy, to be honest, because I tend to know some of the numbers because I obviously learned them for commentary, although I didn't know the Sean Darcy one, and I've got 3-0 this week, so I'm glad you told me that.
It's yeah, I could have gone. I was thinking of players literally off the top of my head, undefeated, as I said, 13-0. Who was going to go 14-0? And that famous moment for St Kilda fans, all the way back in 2009 in round 14, was that courageous, mark from Michael Gardner, and he had that great mark over Harry Taylor, and I think he got knocked out. Harry Taylor, and I love that moment. Not obviously Harry Taylor getting concussed, but that moment of Michael Gardner taking that great mark, and then he slotted the goals pretty much directly front 10 meters out, put the Saints in front about 40 seconds to go, and I'll never forget that moment when Michael Gardner pulled out the tongue when he kicked out the goal. That was awesome. I love that moment. It's a moment I'll remember forever. And I was actually at that game, Bev, so it was great to see back, and moment for Saints fans to remember. And you won't mention that grand final that year either.
I'm glad you didn't mention the preliminary final that year as well. But was that the game that is arguably the best AFL game we've seen, especially last decade? Is that the one that we're talking about?
Yeah, the 2009 one. Yeah, I'd probably say that is one of the best, Bev. Yeah, 2009 round 14. So it's with 13-0 going in. It was going to go 14-0. And obviously it ended up being, coincidentally, those two sides were in the grand final. They were the two clear standout sides that year. And obviously the final went a different direction to that round 14 clash. Which I'm never going to mention on here. But yeah, I never liked that. Toe fluke. Yeah, but look, Bev. There's one moment I want to mention here. Since you gave me a little comment about St Kilda before, I'm going to mention you about the Western. You mentioned that you've been teasing it, and off air you mentioned it. The 09 and 010 prelims, St Kilda Bulldogs both went in St Kilda's way. The one I remember the most also was Nick Rewald taking a similar toe poke-ish type shot in the goal square, Bev. Obviously, that would have been heartbreaking for you as well.
That match and the result of that match was probably the most disappointing result I've felt as a Doggies supporter, just because the Dogs came so close. Like, they were in front at one stage, or I think it was deep in that fourth quarter, actually, with about 6 minutes to go, and then somehow St Kilda's put themselves in front and won the game by 10 points, and we were very close to making the grand final against Geelong that year, but not close enough. So yeah, it's a bit of a hurtful result, that one, but I guess it's made a bit better by the fact that I've seen a flag since, which is good. But still, it's a that the 09 and the 2010 preliminary finals I do remember fairly well.
Yeah, what I want to mention,
hone in on their craft and continue to get better.
So obviously, at the end of 2018, when Geelong had let you go, did you feel any disappointing after being let go? Because you did have some good form late in that year. Kicking a lot of goals that year, and probably felt you were a bit hard done by. Because have a look, you played only 13 games in that year, but still kicked 27 goals and then was let go. Would it be fair to say maybe it was an injury side of things that was the reason you were let go from Geelong?
Yeah, I think that the fact that I had 4 ACLs, 4 knees, that's always something that sort of lingered with me, and in terms of probably externally more than internally, and it was always there, and people always brought it up, so there was certainly a little bit of that aspect there that probably played a role in it. But in saying that, it's one of those ones where it's such a tough industry that if you don't win the flag every year, it's amazing how quickly you got to make changes, or you expected to make changes. And basically off the back of, we went out that year in the elimination final. And so we win 1 or 2 finals, and maybe it's a different story for a few other players as well. So it is, it's just a ruthless industry. And I sort of understood that at the time as well.
Move on to here. At your time at Collingwood, obviously moved to North Melbourne at the end of last year. Obviously, probably didn't want to leave Collingwood, but was it hard to make a decision to leave? Obviously, there's been reports. Obviously, they had a tight salary cap. Just your thoughts on having to leave Collingwood club. Obviously, you said you got drafted by, honoured to be at. Was it tough to make the move from Collingwood to North Melbourne?
Yeah, it was. I was happy to stay. I had 3 more years left on a contract to run. But yeah, I'd taken a pay cut the year before, so that's why I then got the 2 extra years on a bit better money. And obviously with the salary cap, it makes it hard. So yeah, it probably worked out for both of us. I ended up going to North on a 5-year deal, and Sort of having that security of 5 years and being able to just knuckle down, it gives you time, especially going to a new club. It can be hard if you only get like a 2-year deal sort of thing. But I know I've got 5 years, so I can sort of cement myself, get to know all the players, get to know the coaches, facilities, and then hopefully by the time I'm about 24, 25, I feel very comfortable there. Not that I don't already, but yeah, I'm rapt to be at North.
So what was the overall reason, part of the reason for joining the Roos? I'm sure you would have.
I always wanted to stay in Melbourne, so all the interstate clubs were off the cards for me, and I only really got put on the trade table real late. So a lot of people had already done all their wheeling and dealing for other players, and yeah, there was only a few takers late, obviously, because it was hard and had to sort of match the salary. So North just seemed like the best fit for me, and I'd trained there as a young kid and enjoyed being there. I enjoyed the environment, so yeah, it was a pretty easy decision in the end. The more minutes I can get in the midfield, the better it would be. And then on a team level, I think if we can get off the bottom of the ladder, maybe climb 4, 5, 6 spots, that would be a great result. Obviously, we are striving for finals, but I think we just got to take the small wins as we're so young. And I think Nobes is really good at implementing that.
Yeah, obviously, at Collingwood, you played under great players with Pendlebury and players like that. But what's it like playing under Todd Goldstein and Jack Siebel, some of the more experienced guys in North Melbourne? Obviously, they've been there throughout their whole careers. They probably had chances to leave when they didn't. They stuck through. What's it like playing guys like Jack and Todd?
Yeah, I get along really well with Jack and Todd, and I think probably Cunners is another one you should add into that group. They're all just very good footballers. They've been for a long time, so they've got a wealth of knowledge that us young players can delve into, and they're very good, steady heads to lead us young players throughout the next couple of years. So I think we've got to try and take from them as much as we can.
Him to step aside and let someone to step up, well, that'll be a decision to be made as well.
Now, a bit off topic towards yourself. When you're in your playing days, what type of play would you describe yourself when you played?
I was a role player in my eyes. I think I started my career as a sneaky, wispy half forward that used to love kicking goals, and in the end, I've become a chase and pressure player. Yeah, but I think I'm a perfect example of somebody that worked really hard to get an opportunity, and I'm a perfect example of somebody that was looked better in a well-performing team. So, yeah, role players are critical in the way that we're going to try to play in the future too. So, and I saw that firsthand at Richmond, how important role players are. But I think I was lucky to arrive at the right time in Brisbane, and fortunate enough to also to say that I think I got the best out of my ability. And yeah, it's something special when the crowd's back cheering like they are.
Now, obviously, you've had some pretty good wins this year so far. Well, in particular, the round 1 victory over St Kilda started your season off on a great note. Then the most recent ones, it's Freo and Melbourne. You must be pretty pleased to beat 3 sides that are currently featuring in the 8 and only really percentage out and a good chance to play final so far.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like, yeah, you sort of started the season with a bit of momentum. If it's reflecting back, we've actually done that this week ourselves because we got a chance to take a breath and reflect back, and then opportunities to project individually and then as a group. So, but yeah, when you look back at the start of the year, and we thought we were playing some pretty good footy, but we didn't really know how to win, if you like. And we had moments where we're showing that our best is capable, but we just didn't have the execution and at the critical times. And yeah, we learned some good lessons along the way early in the year that are starting to stack up for us now.
Last week as well, Pat Lipinski was obviously one of the major talking points. You must be rapt with how he's not only first to bring him in, as we spoke last time, and now to see his form from round 1 onwards has been awesome, and he'd be clearly up there, and you've been having one of the best recruits from the trade point of view for this year so far.
Yeah, we pinch ourselves that he's been able to come to our footy club, and Derek Hine and Graham Wright did a great job getting him over here and giving him opportunity. It just shows you that, like, if players get opportunity, what they could be capable of. There's many of the players at other clubs in similar situations, sort of playing a lot of footy at VFL and playing above VFL level. So yeah, he's coming. He hasn't missed a beat. He's a great contributor on the training track. He's an enormous runner, which really complements modern footy.
Another name is Jack Crisp.
Across half back has been one of the main contributors for us performing well.
Obviously, in the mid-season draft, you drafted Josh Carmichael from South Australia in the sample.
So been pretty good when he was playing in the sample. In his first year in the sample, must be pleased. Probably a bit of a steal. I thought it wasn't. It was documented as well. It went to, was it pick 9, I think, in the mid-season draft. It was talked about going in the first couple of picks, and must be pretty pleased to get him at pick 9, I think it was.
Yeah, where did you see him go, mate? Where did you have him?
I had him probably in the top 3. So personally, in my experience, I like getting mature age players from the state leagues and mid forwards, players that are a bit more versatile. Yeah, I loved the pick of Josh Carmichael. I thought he was the best pick in general, and definitely the steal anyway.
Yeah, we had him.
Not just saying that because I got you on. I genuinely think that as well.
We had him
in proved that. Yeah.
Yeah. I think we had him in the same light. We thought of all the talent available, we liked him the most, and lucky a few things fell our way, but he's got a bit of work to do in terms of finding out how we play. You know, it's one thing to say you're playing well and have done the competition, but to come in and play a new game plan, new faces, new teammates, new system, it takes some time. I think he's got some really good upside. I watched him train today, and I thought, okay, this guy's got the ball on the halfback flank and kicks it down the line, and then there's this guy kicking the goal in the goals cross. Is that Josh? He just ran that whole way. He's got that contest to contest running capability. And I've mentioned it now a couple of times in this interview. I really think running capability is such a weapon at this level.
Now, what did you guys think of my top 5 interviews, my top 3 goal reenactments, and of course, the best Scoops goes bangs? Well, you may say, Cooper, they weren't really arguments of Scoops goes bang show, sure. But it was the best saying of Scoops goes bang, indeed. And I thought they were the best 3, and they're probably the more recent ones, those 3. So they were the 3 I thought were the best. Now, for my top 3 goal reenactments, I had the great Budweiser goal, the Luke Shuey goal, and then the first one was Eddie Betts. I thought the Eddie one was the best one. That was first shot. Now, if you go back to the episode I've done it in, I told you all that it was the first shot. I got it in. Kidding you. I am not kidding you. Kidding, no. I am not kidding you. That was first shot. I'm not left-footed. I'm right-footed. And nailed that first shot to perfection, as I said in that episode. It was first shot. So that's why it's the best. I'm a right footer, as I said. Done that left-footed check side. The great Eddie Betts would be proud of that. So, and Buddy's goal. Yes, the big long run. Cale Hooker still has nightmares. And, and the power still have nightmares all the way back to that elimination final. In extra time, Luke Shuey, when bang, pardon the pun, when bang did Luke Shuey and got the Eagles through that elimination final up until the next round of finals. And had it not been for Luke Shuey's efforts, that may not have ever happened. So, for the Eagles. So, they can credit Luke Shuey. So, leave your thoughts down below with that. My top 5 interviews. I had this. Look, first of all, I want to say, too, I've enjoyed every single interview person I've had on. So, special mention to all the others that did not make the top 5. They're all been very, very good. But at number 5, I did have the interview with Sarah Lee, formerly known at Fox Footy. It was a great interview to get. She said a lot of insights into how she got into Fox, and now she's also working with the AFL, so she's progressed herself. That was a generally good interview. As you all know, in the very first interview I had with Tom, she was actually there behind the scenes, believe it or not, and spoke ever since then, and it's been great to have her on, and she was really good to work with. Now, also, at number 4, we got this little banter going at the moment with Bev from the Bev Show, but he reined in a number 4 despite all that. He's doggies, bark, bark, bark. Now, that may not have been in our direct episode. We know Bev loves a bit of chirpiness lately since his doggies beat my Saints, but that's okay. I would have done the exact same thing had we won. But Bev, come on, mate. Just remember 09 and 010. 2009 and 2010 prelims, Bev. Just remember that, mate. Just remember how they eventuated. And remember when you were up about 50 points a long, long time ago when Jack Billings kicked like 3 or 4 goals into 40 possessions, Bev? Just remember that, Bev. But in all seriousness, Bev was great to have on. It could have been very high on this list. It could have been a bit lower on this list. Bev deserved to be in the top 5, and hopefully we can work something out with Bev in the future because Bev is obviously awesome to work with. Now, this may come to a surprise to some people, but at number 3 is Dan Menzel, the former Cat and Swan, who's now playing in the SANFL for Woodville West Torrens and is currently leading the SANFL goal-kicking competition with 3 or 4 rounds to go. He will win the Coleman. Dan Menzel. Dan was very good. I've actually spoken to Dan for a long, long time, actually, believe it or not. And We had this in the works for a long, long time when he was actually at the Swans as well, and one of his last years at Geelong. So it was great to get it finally happened. Dan was a great person to communicate through with, and interview I thought done pretty well. And that was one of the early editions of my podcast, one of the first interviews, in the first group of interviews I had done. And Dan was very comforting, and it was great to work with Dan. And I get nervous on most interviews, I'll be brutally honest, but for this one, I did not, because I just felt very comfortable talking with Dan, and appreciate Dan coming on. Now, number 2, this may come as no surprise. This could have easily been number 1, but it's the best current player I've had on so far. I've had a few current players on, and he is the best of the lot, and he's Jaden Stevenson, a former Pie, current Roo. Now, this was as you would have seen some of the interview clips, this was David just not long after Dave Noble coming in for the Roos. Also now, unfortunately, he's been let go from North Melbourne. But that was while Dave was at the Roos, and you can see Jaden wanted to stay at the Pies, was forced out through the salary cap reasons. And but yeah, a bit similar to Dan, Jaden was very good and easy to connect with, and to get him on, and he was very upfront and honest in the interview. And hopefully we may see some of these people in this top 5 and outside the top 5 feature again. But at number 1, it was hard to go past. Now, I put this as both. You can technically tell me it's then 6 interviews because you're saying twice for this guy. And I had him twice, and this is not why he's on top. He's most popular, and that is the Pies coach, Craig McRae, had on both times. It was one of the very first interviews I had was Craig McRae, the Pies coach. He had only just come into the role about not even a week or so after being named the head coach of the Pies, and he came on the show straight away. So it was great to have Craig McRae on. Really appreciate it, and he knows how I feel, and I appreciate it a lot. And then he come on a second time. That was always the plan. He was always going to come on again, and maybe may see him a third time on. We don't know. Even if he doesn't come on again, it's been great to have Craig on, and he's been very upfront. And like the rest, but particularly the top 5, they've been very easy and accommodating to work with. And great show, Craig coming on. And yes, as you've seen in the clip I just shown too with Craig in it. He asked me my opinion on Josh Carmichael, who obviously has come on as a super sub yesterday for the Pies and got the win. We'll get to that later on as well. So they're my top 5 interviews. And the goal ones, I said Buddy, Shuey, and Eddie were first. So yeah, leave your thoughts down below in my rankings if you haven't already, which I'm sure you all have, because that's all we like to do. Now, where are we? What's next on the agenda? We're going to, you know what? I'm going to change it up. I'm going to go through my team of the week. Change it up. Episode 50, change things up, I think. Right. My round 19 AFL team of the week. From the back line, the pockets, Adam Sard and Luke Ryan. Full back, Stephen May. Half back line, Hayden Young and Jack Sinclair. Centre half back, Ben Mackay. Wingers, Tom Mitchell and Toik Miller. Centreman, Rory Laird. Half forward line, Jack Gunston and Zach Merritt. Centre half forward, Jamara Ugle-Hagan. Forward pockets, Dan Butler, and Levi Casbolt. Full forward, Charlie Dixon. Ruckman, Jared Witts. Rovers, Jack Steele, the man is still, and Jai Newcomb. Interchange, Marcus Winhager, Brad Crouch, Sam Berry, and Lockie Neal. The emergencies, Charlie Curnow, Luke Parker, Luke Davies-Uniacke, Aaron Hall, Sam Walsh, and Dylan Shield. Reasons, well, all this was pretty much self-explanatory, to be honest. I'm being brutally honest. I know people will come at me for the Levi Casbolt selection, but kicked 4 and it was a reason why the Suns stayed in the contest. I know some will say about Marcus Winhager had 23 touches, while he tagged Tim Kelly, who had 4 possessions, so it was a clear-cut decision. Brad Crouch at 31 and 11 clearances, a similar amount of tackles as well, so that was that was a easy decision for me. Sam Berry kicked 2 and 24, but had a bunch of tackles, around 14 tackles as well. Lockie Neal had 32 at high efficiency. I think it was in the low 80s, so he deserved a spot as well. Could easily put Curnow kicking 4 and 18, but Levi, despite less possessions, was impactful as well. You could say Gunston kicked 5 was a lock. Merritt, I know he plays in mid, pushed 1, had to put him there because he had to be in the side, having 38, and some good efficiency as well. But yeah, leave your thoughts down below. Now, we'll review round 19. Changed up the agenda this week. Now, all the way back on Friday night, it was the draw. 52 apiece. The Tigers and the Dockers, well, what you can say, the Noahs, Bolter and Cumberland blew the chances. Now, people can say not their fault. Well, both sides had chances to kick goals and didn't, and this was the two vital moments at the end of the game for Bolter for playing on. That was the right call. Now, I know, as you many people know, that I don't like how umpiring is in pretty much every game, but those two decisions were correct. Not because they were Richmond. Unfortunate for the Noahs, Bolter and Cumberland. Bolter clearly ran his 30 seconds. That's why he was called to play on. That was simple. And Cumberland was a bit of hard luck. The siren probably should have gone before he had even marked the ball. So, yeah, okay. It didn't, but he then did play on. So, unfortunate. Heartbreaking for him. He has got a long left foot on him, but, yeah, unfortunately, he could have scored. Yes, he could have, absolutely. But he played on, so that's why it didn't happen. But in the end, Dion Pressley was Richmond's best player. Hayden Young was best on ground by a mile. Luke Ryan was one of the best of the Dockers, as was Andy Brayshaw. But isn't he one of the best every single week? And Griffin Lowe, in particular in the first half, started very well for the Dockers. Now, we'll move on to Saturday games. North Melbourne and Hawthorn. Hawthorn by 46 points. We had 70... Where are we? I just lost the score. 75 North Melbourne, 121 the Hawks. The Hawks did what they had to do. 9-goal quarter in the first quarter. They were dominant, the Hawks, and they did what they had to do. Davies Uniacke was good, but John Newcomb and Tom Mitchell were two of the best for the Hawks. Next game, guys, we'll go through is obviously the game after the Roos and the Hawks. So that would then mean that we're going to go through. I'm just getting it back up. I just lost it. In front of me, it was the other game at 1:45 on Saturday. It was the Swans hosting the Crows. Similar conditions, similar starts to the game, and similar outcomes, really. Sydney were dominant, 118-85. Swans by 33. CG. Laird, how awesome was he? Getting around 38 possessions a goal. High tackles, high efficiency. Rory Laird is a beast. Tackling machine, he's... Sam Berry, speaking of tackling machines, awesome. 2 and 24, like 14 odd tackles. Two of the best for the Crows. The Swans... Shad Warner, Luke Parker, James Rowbottom, and a few other guys were in the mix for Sydney. They were just really dominant from the get-go. And even with Crows coming back, the lead was far too difficult for the Crows. And the Crows, Tex Walker did pretty good as well. Twilight game on Saturday was the Power and Geelong. 94 by Adelaide, defeated by Geelong, 106 Geelong by 12 points. Yeah, Port again, similar to the Melbourne game. They were in there for the contest, which is good signs for Kenny Hinkley, who will coach next year, unless something drastic happens. Carl Amon was their best. It wasn't really. Charlie Dixon was their next best as well. So there wasn't any major, and Travis Boak as well. So there wasn't, other than those three, there wasn't really many. I suppose Alir did right number wise. They had 23 possessions and about 11 marks, but Hawkins kicked 3, and Cameron did his bit as well. So it was an interesting one. Tom Atkins had a big last quarter for Geelong, having 12 touches in it. But yeah, Geelong again, some even contributors and led by Tom Atkins in that last quarter. The Q clash on Saturday night was the Lions, 110, defeated the Suns, 93, Brisbane by 17. This game was closer than the margin. 17 is not a big margin at all. Gold Coast were in front heading into the last quarter, so they had the lead. And unfortunately, they didn't keep the lead. Brisbane Lions, Lockie Neal was their best. Hugh McCluggage done all right. The Suns, though, Troy Miller and Jared Witts, two of the best players on the ground. Levi Caswell's a set kick 4 as well, so he was pretty good. Mario Choles had been a great recruit from this season. It was another solid game for him. But unfortunately, their season's over like the Power, and the Lions get the win and keep contention for the top 2 position. The other game on Saturday night, the Bulldogs and Melbourne. Thanks a lot, Melbourne. 100 Melbourne defeated by the Bulldogs, 110. Bulldogs got 10 points. Melbourne, it's got to be concerns. What do you guys think of the concerns about Melbourne? When there was no Stephen May, Melbourne were losing, and if they weren't losing, they were pretty average. Now, if Jake Lever being late at this game, they got exposed. When they don't have both Lever and May at the same time, they lose. Adam Tomlinson is not the choice. I know that maybe all the options they got at the moment, well, they need to get different options. Adam Tomlinson should never play an AFL game in that position, at least, again. Harsh reality, but it needs to be done. Petty's done okay, but they need Lever and May at the same time. Oliver wasn't his best game. Angus Brayshaw done okay, but then he was exposed late in the game. Some vision on Channel 9, they showed on the footy show. So, yeah, disappointing for Melbourne. Bulldogs, Jamaru Gahan kicked 5, but created a stronger second half. Finished with 29. He's an accumulator, Jack McRae. It was a solid win for them. But Stephen May did keep Josh Bruce 2 possessions. Was kept to 3 by Cal Wilkie Cal Wilkie the week before. So Joshy Bruce coming back from an ACL, but a few games in the VFL with a setback in between that, a hamstring strain. Maybe he needs to spend another week back in the VFL. Maybe. We'll have to wait and see how they go this week with Josh Bruce in selection. Sunday, it was Carlton 90 defeated the Giants 54, Carlton by 36. Yeah, it was expected, to be honest. I thought the Giants was going to be a small chance of winning. They look like that. Toby Green taking a mark of the year contender. People saying Adam Sada after that took mark of the year. Great mark, not doubting that, but I think Toby Green was far superior. He stood on top of Lewis Young, who was 200 plus centimetres. So to get to leap over a tall guy, then to essentially, if you look at the still photo, stand on top of him, adding his own height. That was amazing. Toby Green, there's a lot of Toby Green haters, and those opinions are irrelevant if you just don't like him in general, which is why you don't think he should win Mark of the Year. Fair enough, you don't think he'll win Mark of the Year, but if that's just your reason because you don't like him, well, that's irrelevant. So I think Toby Green should get Mark of the Year. Mitch Georgiades took another good one in the game against Geelong. He took a good one early in the year. But yeah, Adam Sard took a solid one, but I still have the Georgiades ones over Sard's, but still good. And GWS, Toby Green was all right. Tim Tarana was their best player. Braden Bruce back in the ruck. Finally, Mark McRae bringing back Braden Bruce, and funnily enough, he made an impact. Mark, a bit too late, to not bring him in. Kept Matty Flynn, he got dropped finally. Carlton, Walsh was their best player. Cripps had a lot of possessions, but a lot of those were handballs and not as impactful for Cripps standards, although he has tendency to have some games like that. Now, the game that some of you have also been waiting for me to mention, no, it's not the St Kilda game, we'll get to that last. Collingwood, Essendon. Collingwood 80, 76, Essendon. Collingwood 4 points. It's a trend of Collingwood 9 in a row, like Geelong, and but Collingwood have been through, how would you describe it? They're winning so many games in these 9 by under a goal, and this was another one. Jamie Elliott entered beast mode. Pardon the pun, but Elliott goes bang. Jamie Elliott goes bang, and from the boundary line. Now, people don't realise that the hard shot that was. He was not only 50 metres out on the boundary at the MCG, but essentially he had no run up. In the pocket where he was stuck in, he essentially didn't have a run up at all. So to kick it that well, in that pressure as well, in that position, that distance, that ground, those conditions, that I am deeming the goal of the year. Now people can say, are you saying that because he kicked it after the siren? Could that have helped? Sure, but that's not the reason for why I'm saying that. The position on the ground he kicked it on. Yes, pressure, I suppose, and yes, it's a factor. It's not the sole factor. It's not the sole reason. But that goal was amazing. 50 metres out on the boundary, in that pressure as well, on that ground of the G, in those conditions, absolutely clutch was Jamie Elliott. Josh Carmichael, super sub, came on for Braden Maynard, kicked 2 and 5. 2 goals and 5 possessions in the last quarter. Super sub, Josh Carmichael. Probably shouldn't have been dropped, but shows Craig McRae's got some great depth options, at least at the Pies. We spoke to Craig about Josh Carmichael, which you've seen earlier as well. Essendon, Zach Merritt, and Dylan Shield were their 2 best players. But they were another day. Harry Jones had a chance like 45 seconds ago. So again, remember a few weeks ago when I said the Brisbane, who did they play in Starcevich one, against Essendon, that they could have gone coast to coast. Collingwood did it at the MCG. So that game proved to me, and should prove to all of you who said I was wrong, that, Collingwood did it at the G, which is bigger than the Gabba. So, told you it can be done. Sure, the chance of that happening isn't extremely high, but it's still a possibility, and it happened. So, congrats to Jamie Elliott and the Pies. The Saints and the Eagles, the last game of round 19. The Saints by 28 points, 90 to the Eagles, 62. Tom Barras was their best player. But, we say, Cooper, you beat West Coast, they're on the bottom, They're starting to get players back, though. Starting to play better, and especially at home. They always beat Geelong a few weeks ago, losing by 3 goals. Look, it's not a win to get carried away about, I'm sure. But at least while we're up by a few goals, we didn't look like losing the margin. Dan Butler. I mentioned him earlier. Kicking 5, his career high. It was great to see Dan kick 5. Maxi King kicking a few snags as well. Jack Steele, the man of steel, getting 40 possessions, 11 clearances, like 11 odd tackles as well. Steely, the name Man of Steel is not just used because of his name. He generally is a man of steel, and he went in beast mode in the Saints game. as well. Jack Sinclair did pretty solid off the halfback line as well. But yeah, Butler, steal. Brad Crouch, 31 a goal, 11 tackles, 11 clearances, a lot of meters gained. Crouchy was awesome. And there's a few other. Marcus Winghager, I can't forget. Tagging Tim Kelly. Kept Tim Kelly to 4 disposals. Tim Kelly played over 90% or close to game time. He kept one of the best recent mids in the competition in the last 2 years, and he kept him to 4 possessions. Marcus Wing is a young player who got 23 possessions of his own, mind you, and to dominate Tim Kelly like that, that is a huge accomplishment, as Brett Raden praised him, so he should. Marcus Winghager, one of the inclusions this week after having COVID last week. It was great to see him come back in and make a statement. I wonder if they'll keep doing that. They said they may not, but don't be surprised if they try and do that to Tom Mitchell or John Newcomb this week for the Hawks when the Saints play them on Saturday twilight at Marvel. We'll wait and see. But the Saints get the win and are equal on points in 8th position. Yes, we're technically 9th. I know, but we're equal on points percentage behind the Bulldogs. Now, let's go. What's next on the agenda? We got on the agenda next, we have got my Supercoach talk. Supercoach talk. Scored 2,324 for the round in the top 10%. It's a position I'm happy to be in. Happy to be in general, but it's been stagnating around it, so it doesn't look like we're going up a couple points in the rankings every so round, or going down 100, so it's not really changing, which is, to be honest, probably a little bit disappointing, if I'm being honest. But yeah, made a few changes, so I'm probably regretting bringing Todd Goldstein in, because when he's played as a pure ruck, he's unreal dominant, but then they decided this week was the week to play Callum Coleman-Jones more in the ruck. First it was Cherry, now it's Callum Coleman-Jones. Goldie, just leave the club for God's sake, mate. You've been loyal, but they're just treating you like an afterthought at the moment. Goldie, leave. I'm thinking good if you want, especially if Ryder retires. You can play Arrow and Marshall. That'd be nice. Now, team, we've got 2 trades left. Got Gresh and Trelaw under injury clouds, but now I've moved Jai Cully, who we got on the emergency, is now on the 4-line bench to cover one of them. If one of them doesn't play, I'll trade one and just use Cully as the other. I think I'm almost, I wouldn't say conceding the season. I'm conceding I won't get significantly higher, like top 5%. But I'll just play conservative, I think is the right word to use. So at the moment, I haven't traded Gresh or Trelaw. I'll use Cully as one. Then if both don't play, then I'll trade one of them. Probably Trelaw because his price is higher. But both may only miss a week, so if that. So it'll be something I'll think of later in the week when the teams come out on Thursday night. So yeah. And the captaincy, I'm going Laird this week just because no matter who they play, I'm going the Crows. Superstar. The vice captain, I'm going Jack Sinclair at the moment, playing the Hawks. He always gets a lot of possessions against every side. And Hawthorn is the side early in the year. He took to the cleanest, did Jack Sinclair. Now, speaking of Jack Sinclair, on the back line, my team, audio platforms, Spotify and Apple Podcasts, reading it out for you guys. Jack Sinclair, James Sicily, George Hewitt, Hayden Young, Jaden Short, Jack Crisp. Bench, Jay Spurgoyne and Sam Skinner on the defender bench. Midfielders, Clayton Oliver, Captain Rory Laird, Toy Camillo, Lockie Neal, Jack McRae, Callum Mills, Andy Brayshaw, and Ben Keys. Bench, Mitch Owens, James Cheetahs, Cooper Hamilton, swapped around. Ruckman, Todd Goldstein, Riley O'Brien. Bench, Ruck bench, Brian Teakle. Forwards, on field, Steve Cornelio, Will Brodie, Isaac Heaney, Pat Lipinski, Adam Trelaw, and Jade Gresham. Bench, Ned Long, and Jai Cully. Leave your thoughts down below the side. How's your team going with 4 rounds to go? Very interesting to see who goes where. Leave your thoughts down below. If you want any more advice or you want any opinions on who you should go or anything like that, send it through to AFL Info Live on Instagram or Facebook, AFL Information, Trade Rumours and Results. Now we'll move on to, you know what? Before I preview round 20, I'm going to go through my rolling All-Australian team. Now, I'm going to repeat, I'm going to say this for the first time. This is the last time I'll show my rolling All-Australian team on the show. Like the Scoops medal, similar to that, it'll be on their own show. Well, rolling Australian team will be on the finals edition of Kick It to Scoops. Scoops medal on its own will have its own separate show. So yeah, for the last time until the end of the season, or until the bye round, between round 23 and the week 1 of the finals, this is my rolling All-Australian team. after round 19. By rolling all Australian team after round 19. Backline, Pockets, Cal Wilkie and Sam Doherty. Full back, Sam Taylor. Half backline, Jack Sinclair and Nick Dacos. Centre half back, James Sicily. Wingers, Josh Kelly and Rory Laird. Centreman, Lockie Neal. Half forward line, Will Brodie and Toik Miller. Centre half forward, Jeremy Cameron. Forward pockets, Charlie Cameron and Chad Warner. Full forward, Charlie Curnow. Ruckman, Jared Witts. Rovers, Clayton Oliver and Andy Brayshaw. Interchange, Sam Walsh, Jack McRae, Ben Keys, and the new inclusion, which is not going to be heavily debated, Brad Crouch. So the overall changes after round 19, in Brad Crouch, out Jordan Dawson. Now, Jordan Dawson was at half-back, so I put Nate Dacos from the bench to the half-back line, can play there and the wing as well. Laird went on to the wing from half-forward. Miller went from the bench to on the field to half-forward. I know some of these guys are mids. They're capable of kicking goals. So that's their ideal position, but got to include some on the ground, not as many dominant forwards. Chad Warner, I know he's not a forward pocket, but again, same reason. There's not many, other than Charlie Cameron, no other small forward has really been too dominant. Maybe it's Tyson Stengel, but that's what I've gone with at the moment. He's in consideration, though. Ruckman Joe Witts all day, every day. Oliver, he's been injured and at scratch the last few weeks, still going to stay in, obviously. Andy Brayshaw's been awesome against the lock, as I've said every week. Walsh, McRae. McRae's dropped to the bench. Ben Keys is also on the question mark. So those two are on notice, and Brad Crouch just come in. So obviously, those three guys in particular performed in the last 4 weeks. They're the ones that are probably the most vulnerable to fall out of the side. And Will Brodie, it'd be just a question mark, but I think he may stay in, but we'll have to wait and see. Leave your thoughts down below, guys. Am I rolling on the Australian for the last time until the bye round between the round 23 and week 1 of the finals? Now, let's go through and preview round 20. We're going to go through the game. So it's going to start all the way on Friday night in Perth at Optus Stadium, 8:10 Victorian time. Dockers, Demons. Dockers, I think, will get the win after having a draw against Richmond. Melbourne have been a bit scratchy. They may get a lever back, but a few question marks going to Melbourne. I'm going to go for the Dockers, though. Saturday, 1:45 at the MCG Vic time. Collingwood, Port Adelaide. Should be an interesting game. I'm going to go for Collingwood. They're in a lot of close games. Port Adelaide have been in some games the last few weeks, particularly against Melbourne and Geelong. So I'm going for the Pies. Saturday, 2:10, SCG. Swans hosting the Giants in the Sydney Derby. Going the Swans should win pretty comfortably, particularly after they've gone the last 3 weeks against being at St Kilda. Twilight, being at St Kilda at Marvel. 4:35 Vic time. Saints, Hawks. Saints should win pretty comfortably. Beat them early in the year. Should beat them, but they should beat them easily. Saints need a win. They want to be in this 8th contention. They need to win. And hope Bulldogs lose, which, speaking of the Bulldogs, Saints, Cats, Bulldogs, GMHBA, 7:25 Victorian time at GMHBA. Geelong, Bulldogs, we need Geelong to win, and they should win against Bulldogs at home. Geelong for me. 7:30 Vic time at the Adelaide Oval on Saturday night. Crows, Carlton. Carlton should win. Sunday, 1:10 Metricon Stadium, 1:10 Sunday at Metricon Stadium. The Suns hosting the Eagles, 1:10 Vic time. I'm going for the Suns there. Bounce back after a loss. Close loss against the Lions in the Q Clash. Sunday also, 3:20 at the MCG Vic time. Richmond hosting Brisbane. Need the Lions to win? Well, not necessarily, but it'd be the preferred option. I think the Lions can win. Richmond have been... Their last 3 weeks, they've blown it for themselves. Richmond choked a 42-point lead against the Suns. Lost to the bottom side, North Melbourne. Then, had a draw against the Dockers. That's no shame, but the way they had 2 chances at the end of the game where they should have scored something, and therefore they probably would have won. So, yeah, they've had 3 chances. They played the Lions, who they've got a good record at the MCG. But the way they're going, they may lose this one as well. And I think the Lions can bounce back after some better performances, especially against the Suns this week, just gone at the Gap, or it was at the Metricon. But now, speaking of the Bombers and the Roos, just briefly mention the Roos. Sunday, Twilight, 4:40 at Marvel, Essendon, North Melbourne. I'm tipping Essendon, but they want to bounce back after that dreadful ending against the Pies. Choked to the lead they had. It wasn't a massive lead, but it was a lead they should have kept. And Collingwood went bang, bang, bang. And then, you know what Jamie Elliott did? He went bang also. So I'm going for the Essendon over North Melbourne. Now, guys, my final thoughts are simply this. You want me on Cameo? Head to cameo.com/CooperG. Merch, t-shirts, stickers, stubby holders, hats. What is the whole shebang? It's all on there. So go and get yours today. Appreciate you all for tuning in to the 50th episode of Kick It at Scoops. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Episode number 51 will be back next week. Probably some more guests in the future. The t-shirt designs I had planned for tonight, unfortunately, has not happened. But I will post what the t-shirt will look like, and when they can go on sale, I will let you guys know. So appreciate you all. You know what? I'm just going to tell you now. It's a t-shirt with Lift Your Game. You'll see the design right now on the Facebook page. So hope you guys can enjoy that and purchase that when you want it. Well, I'm going to put it on the site now. Appreciate you all. Until next time, everyone, have a great one. The most important thing of all to remember is go to the Saints Centre course. And as you would have seen earlier in the clip, you better acknowledge me.